Counter-Narrative News back with another in our special series on Harry Belafonte, as it turns out. And many thanks to Comrade Leah for sharing this particular clip from 2011 with an interview with Harry Belafonte in which he says some very interesting things. Again, the figure, the absolute towering figure, metaphorically and actually, of Paul Robeson comes back into the frame here as a mentor to Harry Belafonte. So Paul Robeson is of just the older generation to Harry Belafonte. Paul Robeson really hands the baton over to Belafonte in many senses of the word, as Paul Robeson himself was a globally recognized superstar of an actor and a singer, and of course a trenchant revolutionary, absolutely fearlessly, courageously committed to the fight against white supremacy and racism. So what Belafonte says that Robeson gave him some strategic advice in terms of popularizing his music, and the Banana Boat song, which to that point became the most successful musical hit in the world of Harry Belafonte's. And then Harry Belafonte uses his position, and this is a real beautiful, positive message and lesson to all artists in any field of art that use your creativity at the service of the oppressed and the liberation struggles. And that's what Paul Robeson does. And Paul Robeson says, he said, and I'm pretty much verbatim quoting, "The artist must elect to fight for freedom or for chains." So beautiful, so beautiful. And so Belafonte takes that advice, and then he reaches out to the African liberation struggles in the cultural wing of it, of particularly centrally Miriam Makeba, and he helps to launch her globally, and the struggle of not only the struggle against white minority, white supremacist rule, colonial rule in South Africa, but across the continent, as he explains it. Just really important histories and important strategic frameworks of how we can enjoy our culture, but also being an integral part, fused with the people's struggle, because that's what our culture represents. And Belafonte is reflecting on how the Cuban jazz, as he says, quote unquote, pollinates jazz in the US. And we know how jazz in the US also became a kind of a field of inspiration to the Black liberation struggle as well, through many artists in jazz over there. So really, really important comments here from Belafonte back from 2011. Many thanks, sir. Many thanks, comrade. What an amazing man. Please enjoy.
Of an instruction that Paul Robeson had given me. And he said, get them to sing your song, and they'll want to know who you are. And in that little exchange down in the dressing room at the Village Vanguard, I woke up not too long after that wonderful piece of counsel to understand what he meant, because that album housed the song Banana Boat Day-O, and the whole world was singing the song in the literal sense. But also, when I looked at the thousands of people that came to the stadiums to hear that song and others, I realized that the world was singing my song. And in Robeson's counsel, this was the opportunity to begin to spread truth and to open up opportunities for information to flow. It was the opportunity to reach out to other artists who may not have been heard otherwise, or needed to be heard, like Miriam Makeba. America knew nothing about the struggles of the people in Africa. Miriam Makeba came. She got the platform. Ed Sullivan was convinced that in his world, to let Miriam and Makeba come on the program and to sing in Kosa. And for him, it was an adventure. And he had been told by the programmers that they're not going to understand. And he said, oh, they'll understand. Harry likes it. It's good enough for me. And we got on the air, and there was Miriam Makeba singing these songs, and her popularity became quite intense. Not only the anti-apartheid struggle, which struggled to spread in the United States, but for a greater understanding of the liberation of the whole continent. Because there was people like Sekou Touré and Nyerere and Tom Mboya, and all of the entire continent was awakened with the idea of liberation. And having African artists, eventually Huey Masekela and others, the whole idea of world music was seated in the fact that the Banana Boat, songs from the Caribbean, it opened up more music from Cuba and the whole power in Afro-Cuban jazz and what those great Cuban artists did who pollinated American jazz with such great harmonies and song. All of that stuff was a melting pot for a greater truth.